When there's an injustice against you or someone you love or someone you believe in, stand up. Don't sit down on them. They need you.
Welcome to Popcorn Planet's Pop Culture Justice. I am Andy Signore in studio again with Steph the Altered Nerd. Hey, Steph. Good to see you, Steph.
Hey up, everyone.
We have we had an exciting show, but we have a bit of an update, and we're going to be fully transparent and fill you guys in on what's going on. But yeah, we're here to talk about the Marilyn Manson case today, and I'm very excited because we got two amazing guests, people who are very into this case, been following it since the beginning. We have Colonel Kurtz is back. How you doing, Colonel Kurtz?
Hey, I'm good. Thanks, Andy.
A pleasure to have you. And for the first time making her debut, we have Lisa from the Manson Files. How are you doing?
Oh, thank you so much. It's
Manson
the Manson
cases.
cases. Yeah,
sorry. Steph kept calling it the wrong thing, and then I got stuck in my brain.
Because I follow the hashtag the Manson Files on Instagram, and you're the Manson cases, and I get confused because I'm an idiot.
Make sure you go support the Manson cases over on Twitter. Great updates on the case, as well as Colonel Kurtz, who's been on this from the beginning. Thank you both for being here. All right, so now full disclosure, I have to say, Colonel Kurtz and Manson case are very much behind supporting Marilyn Manson. Both of you, to be clear, both of you feel 100%, given all the facts and evidence you guys have gone through, Marilyn is innocent.
Correct.
Right. Well, 100%. I don't know if I believe anything 100%, but yes, I feel as convinced of his innocence as I did Johnny Depp's, and I think she feels the same. So.
Okay, got it. So, but you're leaning towards that way. Obviously, yes. No one's in the room, but given what we have, yes. And I've just full disclosures at the stage. Steph has done a bit more research. I know you're all leaning more to that side. I still am doing some homework, but I'm starting to get there based off some of the stuff I've seen. And full disclosure, I have seen a bit more than you guys. Yes, there is a lot of information that has been leaked, and some of that information we were going to share with you on this stream. However, look, we try to be very careful here on Popcorn Planet, legally, ethically, morally, and there is a settlement on the table, and there's lawyers involved, and there's private information, and there are documents that we were going to share that I don't believe we are technically allowed or should share just yet. And so we will not be getting into the details or sharing those today out of respect to both parties legally, also to protect our own asses, to being clear here.
Hear that.
So apologies for the tease. We was ready. That said, I have seen some of it, and I'm gonna, with their permission or not, I'm gonna allude to some of it as well. And I know Kurtz, you've seen a lot of it too. Manson cases. I don't know if you've seen it either, but I guess, can you set up, I'll go to you first, Colonel Kurtz. Can you set up a document that we are alluding to? I guess maybe let's rewind. Marilyn has settled with Esme Bianco, who had made some serious accusations about him. And this case has just settled. There is a document or zip file or something that did get out to the world before it was closed up for, secret purposes for the lawsuits. Some of that documentation came out. You've alluded to some of it, correct, Colonel Kurtz?
That's right. Yeah. And we don't have to get into the specific details of how it leaked, but there was a legal filing and there was a live link to a zip file it was unfortunately included. It was unintentional. And so for a period of time, it was publicly available. And so anybody who checked out that filing could click on that link and could then see thousands of files of Esme Bianco's evidence that she intended to use or that she could have used in the trial if it had gone to trial in her lawsuit against Manson. And so a number of us, not only the Manson cases, not only me, but a number of other people accessed this and have read it. And as you said, and have access to these files. But as you said, out of respect for the process, we have chosen not to publish them. And so the lawsuit, as you know, it was just recently publicized that a settlement was reached between Esme and between Manson. And so it seemed like it would be okay then to share some of the contents of those files. And we're not just throwing it all out there, right? We were just interested in talking about what we thought were some of the more exculpatory things. But it's looking like with the lawsuit, some of the conditions of the lawsuit, that there is a waiting period and that it's better if we just kind of sit tight. for a bit.
Yeah, full disclosure. Look, I exactly like I just don't legally want to put something out there that messes with either party. This isn't to side with anybody. Like
Right.
both parties agreed to settle. That's what happened here, and we're going to discuss that. Was that a good move? Was it not? I got more opinions based on some information I've been getting, yeah, that's what happened. And so, just like in the Amber Johnny case, there was documentations and jury stuff. You have to wait certain periods before it all comes out. Otherwise, you risk really, messing with the system. The system's
Right.
there for a reason, and I always do want to support that. What we're supposed to do, and I also don't want to get sued by anybody. Let's be also clear. But yes, that said, some of this leaked. It's out. It's been out. I got to see some of it as well, and I will say it did give me some questions as to why she might have settled. And I guess I want to start there. It seems like a perfect starting point for our guests, especially as we look at this settlement. We did a video yesterday, day before, earlier this week, talking about that, which I hope you guys will check out. But some people see a settlement as failure, right? As, oh, well, they don't want to, they can't prove it, so they're just paying somebody off. I don't get that sense here, and I'm curious from how you guys take this settlement. To me, again, and to fill me in, you guys may know more than I do. Lawsuits are expensive as hell. I can't imagine Marilyn's raking in the dough right now. These are very expensive lawsuits. He's got several on the pipeline. I imagine the Evan Rachel Wood one is where I would put all my energy. And without a lot of income coming in, this can get really taxing. So to push one away to sort of be like, yep, all right, let's just resolve this, might be cheaper than actually going through and defending yourself. And if you don't have unlimited funds, which I can't even imagine. I don't know how Johnny did it either. We know he has a lot of money, but we also knew the accountants took a bunch and et cetera.
Yeah.
I don't know. Any of these people fund these lawsuits. They're very, very expensive. So I don't necessarily fault him. I mean, if you're going to fault him, we could also fault her. Well, why wouldn't you at least make sure you get an apology or some sort of correction as well? So that sort of cancels out to me, because if he's really this monster, wouldn't you have all this support from a dozen women, right? Evan Rachel Wood included. Wouldn't you feel confident to continue your case or get support from some other, I don't know, Time's Up somewhere to like help settle this through? Why'd you do it? Why'd you settle? I could say the same argument back at her as some might be saying to him. So at the end of the day, knowing how serious this case is, knowing how probably financially trouble he is, I see this as probably a win for him. I'm curious how you both took it. Let's start with you, Colonel Kurtz.
Yeah, I think that I feel ambivalent about it, honestly. I think that I totally understand why he did this, and I think it's for all the reasons that you just mentioned, and I agree with those reasons. And if I were in his position, I would probably do the same thing. At the same time, there is a part of me, people I've had some people online sometimes call me a zealot before, and I don't think I'm a zealot, but I am very passionate about the fact that I believe that not only is this man innocent of the things he's been accused of, but that this is a really horrible, this is a horrible hoax, and not just for him, but for society. This is something that's indicative of a much deeper problem in society. And I really hate to see this kind of behavior rewarded in any way. And so there is a part of me that is kind of sick at the idea that Esme Bianco is going to get money for her lies, even if it's not a lot of money and it's much, much less than she asked for. So I'm ambivalent, but I do think that probably it was the right decision on his part. I don't know. Lisa, what do you think?
I totally agree with everything you say. As someone who's seen the full zip file, I don't see how this could have made it to trial and then have her win what she is claiming, because clearly, again, no one has seen it yet, but this is just my opinion. Having seen it, it's not matching up to her legal complaint. And I'm not sure how, with how expensive trials are, if it would have been successful in the end, because I don't believe that. So we don't know much about the settlement, but Esme Bianco is the one that filed the lawsuit. She's the one who wanted, quote, justice. And this was her way to get that. So in the end, to settle, I mean, you can kind of pick and choose the narrative, but at the end of the day, I think Manson did this because it's one lawsuit out of the way. It saves him money for the real goal, which should be Evan Rachel Wood and Ashley Umagor, because I can't imagine having to deal with so many lawsuits and incurring all the expenses, but then also have to pay, Esme Bianco off, if that's exactly what happened in their settlement, just so the lawsuit will go away.
I do have a question. Who actually initiated the settlement talks, guys? Because do we know that? Are we just assuming that it was Marilyn Manson that initiated the settlement talks, or was it actually Esme? Do we know that at all? Because it could be that Esme initiated the settlement talks because, quite frankly, based on what I've seen as well behind the scenes, she didn't have a leg to stand on. She was fighting a losing battle, it seems, and maybe she clocked onto that and thought, right, let's settle, let's get out of this. Do
I
we know
think
who
that
initiated the settlement?
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that that is a good hunch. And I was actually going to ask how you knew that if someone's been talking to you, because I've actually heard from some sources that that is what happened. But to be clear, these sources are not Manson or anyone on Manson's team. But I did hear from someone else that that was the case, and I wasn't going to say anything. But you were saying that, and I thought, has Steph heard something? So that's what I think. I do think that that perhaps her attorney realized that she didn't have a case, or she realized that she didn't have a case, and that if she wanted to get anything from Manson, then she would need to enter a mediation process or a settlement. But that's my guess. But I don't know that 100%. Lisa, do you know anything more?
I don't, but the way I see this is Esme Bianco is the one that sued Manson. She has no benefit, at least, to end the lawsuit. So she's the only one that could end it herself if she comes to the table. That's my speculation, that maybe she came to the table. But either way, Manson can't really end it since she's the one suing. So I think she came to the table. It's just a guess, a speculation, but it's her decision to end it.
Because it certainly then changes the overall landscape of, oh, well, Marilyn Manson settled, so, there must have been something really behind it, to actually, no, Esme Bianco, allegedly, opinion, conspiracy theory, whatever, came to the table, and so then that blows that whole theory of, Marilyn Manson out of the water, if that makes sense, guys.
Yeah, I mean, just to add it, you're right, because even like the headlines, it's always Marilyn Manson settles. Like it should be Esme settles with him. Go ahead. Someone was going to say something.
Yeah, I wanted to add too, she was suing Marilyn Manson for an excess of $10 million. And while we don't know the amount of the settlements, I highly doubt, and I'm not an attorney, that she got $10 million or more. Based on
Yeah, well, Andrea Burkhart, she was on my show yesterday, and she said that based on what she knew or what she read, that it seems like it was probably what they call a nuisance fee in legalese, which is basically she thought, okay, so I said to her, I said, if she had sued for 10 million, Esme Bianco, what do you think an appropriate nuisance fee would be? And she said probably low six figures. And so, again, we don't know that, but that's what I would imagine. And I just want to say too, we aren't showing the contents of the zip file out of respect for the legal system and everything, but people have been for months. Some of us have been talking about some things that we saw in these files. And I know, Andy, you and Steph have seen some of this stuff, right? And it's not about, we're not wanting to be exploitive here and just take all of this stuff and say, oh, look at Esme Bianco's life. It's really, there are some very specific things that you see in the zip file that are exculpatory toward Manson. Certain things, certain messages or DMs or emails that present the relationship between the two of them in a different light than how Esme presented it in her interviews and in her lawsuit. And also, there are certain aspects of her lawsuit that are contradicted by things that you find in the zip files. And so that's what we're talking about here. We're not wanting, there were thousands of files, there were intimate photos and stuff, pictures of, naked pictures and things like that. No one's wanting to put that stuff out there, right? But
there's some salacious stuff in there. I mean, there's a whole accusation. I'm just going to say it. There was a whole accusation because he's talking about his relationship with Evan to Esme and how he alludes to her cheating on him with Jared Leto and stuff. So there's a lot of stuff in there to unpack that, messages to each other that are pulled out private like that can really paint a picture. And the things, since we're opening up that door a little bit to start alluding to some of the things we've seen, like, from what I was gathering and seeing, it was just like nothing that she was saying alluded to any abuse, right? Or any issues in the relationship. And that was very telling to me because it's like, you'd think, when you have this awful relationship, you're going to say something privately via text of how dare you, or,
Well, what
something.
comes out, I was going to say, Andy, to be totally transparent, right? There are references to infidelity in it, but we already know that Manson has had a problem over the years, or with infidelity, and this was what Dita Von Teese, his wife, his ex-wife, said that was the reason why she left the relationship, was drug abuse and infidelity. So the message is they mention, or they discuss some negative aspects of the relationship, but no, you're exactly right. There's no mention in any of this of abuse.
Yeah, so I mean that's bringing it full circle without getting too details in the weeds, because it's a lot. It's a
Right.
big zip file. I haven't even gotten to see it. I
Right.
haven't seen it all. Obviously, I don't know if anybody would have the time to go through all of it, but it's just interesting because there's enough in there that, again, it comes down to why wouldn't he have settled? I do have to challenge Manson's team for, like, really, dude, like destroy this, like end it. Wouldn't that be so much more helpful? The only thing I can think of is the money, because as I've talked to our own legal sources, et cetera, like, it can be very daunting and expensive. And also, I just can't even imagine how much stress him and his wife and family are just going through, where, the world's just, again, everyone in this world now is guilty until proven innocent, is how it sadly is, instead of the other way around, which is the way it's supposed to be with due process. You're innocent until proven guilty, except on Twitter or social media and anywhere online. So I imagine there's stress, there's money reasons that may have made him make this decision. But I do have to say I'm disappointed. At least I'll go to you. Like, are you frustrated, since you've seemingly seen the most of this file and what you've seen there? Are you frustrated he didn't just hold his ground and try to really, in some ways maybe Esme is getting a win a bit because she didn't just lose the way she should have? What are your thoughts?
Well, when I saw this zip file, and I've looked at this 21,000, image or data.
Lisa
zip
has
file.
looked through it all, I think.
I have it memorized,
Lisa.
unfortunately, in my brain, but I could not, for the life of me, see this getting to a trial. So what was going to happen? Likely a settlement, because how does it look for someone who is claiming these type of allegations against one man, Marilyn Manson, to just drop the lawsuit, right? So I'm not surprised it's settled. But the way I see it is, as we've discussed, it saves money, time to focus on Wood and Ashley Ilmagore. But also, she's not off the hook. Remember, Marilyn Manson is suing Evan Rachel Wood and Ashley Ilmagore, alleging a conspiracy to cast him as an abuser. And in recent unredacted filings in the anti-slaps, her name is there. So she's going to be part of that lawsuit, whether she likes it or not, with the settlement or not. So there may come a day where some of this information, besides the zip file that we have, more will come to light.
And also remember this, Andy, that it was, in terms of this lawsuit that's being settled, it was Esme Bianco that went after Marilyn Manson, not Marilyn Manson, that went after Esme. So you can turn around and you can say, well, why didn't he take it all the way? Well, actually, really, in the grand scheme of things, that wasn't in his control to take it all the way. It was Esme, which then brings me back to my original question. Well, hang on a minute. Really, was it Marilyn that settled with Esme, or was it really Esme that settled with Marilyn, and Esme bringing the settlement to the table, which I think is what happened instead, because only she could have done that, really, logically in my mind. I wish there would have been a way that Marilyn could have taken it all the way, because with all the research I've done and the little bits that Colonel Kurtz and Lisa has sent us that we've been able to see from these files, shiz the bed, she was going to go down in flames. Duh! And, for someone that, there's a special place in hell for people that lie about monsters, and I think she's one of them. And, I would have absolutely loved to have seen her gone down in flames. It does feel like she's got away with it, but do you know what it is? And we've got to pick our battles. And the main war is Ilmagore and Evan Rachel Wood. And like Lisa said, Esme is not out of the woods yet, because she's part of that anyway, whether she likes it or not.
Yeah, I mean, there's stuff in there from Esme. Again, some of the messages I've seen, I'm just going through notes that I took as I was going through it all. that I have here. But yeah, just stuff that she was like begging to get back in the relationship after. And I guess that can happen sometimes with abusers, to be fair, but it still just goes against things. There was also just flat out lies where she was, I remember there was an email, maybe Kurtz or one of you can help me remember, they were shooting that video where he was apparently starved and sleep deprived everyone, but he's emailing her saying, let's get some food and some sleep. Like, just a lot of stuff seemed contradictory. Kurtz, can you elaborate? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I mean there was the initial incident of abuse that she has talked about before, both in her lawsuit and also in the interviews that she did with Good Morning America and New York Magazine. She talks about how Manson had her come over for the weekend to film a kind of experimental film project that he was working on, and it was going to be done guerrilla style. And this was, decade ago or so. So it was like flip phone, right? It was going to be done guerrilla style. And he said that what she said, what Esme Bianco had always said, was that he told her that he might have to manhandle her a little bit, but that was it. And then what happened was over the course of the weekend, he didn't let her eat. He sleep deprived her, sort of psychologically, broke her down through like temperamental outbursts and stuff. And then the very last film shoot they did, he tied her to a prayer kneeler and he started whipping her until she had these huge gashes and scars, right? Now, here's the thing, is that when you look at some of these messages between them, he talks about what is going to be involved in this film shoot, and it's clear that it's a legitimate film project. It's not something that he's doing, as she claimed, just as an excuse to torture her or get her in this position. It's a legitimate film project, and he's warning her or telling her all of the sort of the steps and how it's going to be set up and presented and all of that. It's just very, very different from the impression that you get from her own testimony. And then also, yes, there's the fact that you can see him in messages to her, talking about let's get some food or sleep or whatever. And it's like, well, I thought he was sleep depriving you. So I know that, like, in and of themselves, these little things, they might not seem that significant, but they start to add up after a while. And to me, I don't know, Lisa, you can tell me what you think, but to me, Lisa, one of the most compelling things about the messages between them is how there doesn't seem to be not only any reference or mention of abuse, but she doesn't seem in the least like intimidated by him or anything. I mean, I just don't see the kind of dynamic between them that she describes, where she was terrified to even say no to him, right? She says, I couldn't even think of saying no to him. Well, then I read these emails and these messages where she's getting on to him for cheating on her and she's getting on to him for other stuff. And it seems like she's kind of nagging him a lot about various things other than the infidelity. And I'm like, you were afraid to say no to him, huh? I don't know. Lisa, am I missing any big stuff?
Well, I want to answer this by correcting Andy when he said in those messages, when you were describing begging to get back together,
Yeah,
they weren't even dating yet.
right. Oh, interesting.
Yes, and this is purported to be months after this music video where all these abuses occurred.
Oh, so you're saying that I'm trying to remember. You're saying that they were not okay, that the abuse happened, this abuse that she said happened, and then they weren't even dating, but she's sending him messages trying to date him, basically saying, I want us to get together after that abuse?
Let me give you a timeline so everyone can follow. So her lawsuit starts with February 2009 with this music video and all the atrocities that she's alleging against Manson that he did, the whipping, whatever. They get together in May 2009 while he's on a press tour for his new album. And it appears to be maybe day 2, 3, don't really know too much yet. But after that, there is news out in an article that he is seeing, kind of, yes, sort of seeing someone else. And to clarify it further, they're not together, but in her lawsuit, she claims after this press tour, they start a long distance relationship. And in the media, it's always reported that they are together for 2+ years. That's not true at all. So, yeah, I'm just not seeing anything that's being alleged.
So you're saying that based on these messages in the zip file, you're saying that it negates her timeline?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. And we saw several, and that's another thing, when you start to dig into this, is you see various ways in which the messages and the evidence don't reinforce the timeline that she has presented.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
Yeah, again, there just seems to be a lot of stuff in there that would not have helped her in this settlement, if to be clear.
Well, and
So I
Andy,
would say
also
maybe
what's
that's why
significant
she
is
did it,
what's
right?
missing. Right.
Hmm.
And I was going to say what's significant too is what's missing from this, because there are a number of photos that I don't plan to ever share, and I don't think anyone else is, but photos of her body, and there's none of this extensive abuse that she describes. There isn't. And you would think, this man is cutting and whipping and beating and doing all of these things. And, she alleges that he chased her around the house with an axe. That's the level of violence that she alleges. And yet, when you look at the file, there's nothing there along those lines. I mean, anything like that. And so, again, I can imagine that if I were in an abusive relationship with someone who was chasing me around the house with an axe and doing all manner of ungodly things to me, that I would have at least some record, either in messages or in pictures, of indicating some of that, any of that. And it's just not there. And so, yeah, I think what happened was she realized, or her attorney realized, someone realized that she didn't have a case here and that they just needed to get what they could from Manson. And it's just fortunate for them that Manson is in a position where he is just being bled dry by all of these multiple lawsuits. It's a multi-front war, because I really believe that if he were just dealing with Esme Bianco, if we were just dealing with a singular lawsuit and one woman, I'm sure he wouldn't settle, and we'd end up getting a trial that it would expose all of this bullshit. But we're not going to get it, and that's fine.
Well, I do want to, if you're watching this on the replay, we trim the main story just so you can get it, but we're going to be talking a lot more live. If you're watching live, don't go anywhere. And if you missed the full live and you see this is only about a 20, 30-minute show, make sure you hit that join button, hit the join, become a member, pick a tier. You'll be supporting our coverage and our reporting, and you'll be able to watch the full conversation, because I want to extend and have more of this conversation. But before we do that, I'm going to come to each of you for final thoughts for this portion of the video that gets shared more widely. I'll go to you, Lisa. Final thoughts you want people to know about this case or this settlement or the files in general that maybe people don't think they know?
Yes, I think the one key thing is, if you take all of the accusers' lawsuits and compare them to a timeline, 3 of them claim to live with Marilyn Manson at the same time, and other various discrepancies like that. And I don't see that reported, even though there's been a, quote, Rolling Stone investigation where they looked at court filings. But if anyone just sat down, printed them, highlighted, they would see the discrepancies for themselves.
Yeah,
Kurtz,
that's a good
final
point.
thoughts from
Yeah.
you?
Yeah, I'd just like to reinforce that. That's actually a great point to end on, is the fact that we don't even have to talk about, hidden stuff in secret zip files or whatever. If we just go on the basis of just what is publicly known and publicly available, there are so many reasons. If people just do the research and pay attention, there are so many reasons to see why this is a hoax. And she just gave a great example there. And I wasn't even aware of this until Lisa did a video on it several weeks ago, because some of this case is so dense that there are things that I miss. But literally what she's saying is true. If we take the accuser's stories and in their lawsuits at face value, then at one given time, Marilyn Manson had 3 women that he was abusing, living in his 1-bedroom apartment, and these women never seemed to encounter each other. Very, very strange. So yeah, it's discrepancies like that don't make any sense. And then of course you get into all of the ridiculous, outrageous things that Evan Rachel Wood has done and Ilma Gore has done with the faked FBI letter. And I know we've beaten that to death. We've talked about that a lot, but like faking FBI letters and just a range of behavior that is just obviously conspiratorial and deceitful. So.
Well, that was going to be the end of the video, but as we were live, we got this breaking news. Apparently, Esme Bianco's lawsuit against Marilyn Manson has now been dismissed after settlement. Now, I'm waiting for more details on this news, but dismissed isn't settlement. Dismissed means it's dismissed. It's removed, in which case he would have then won this in a way, because it's no longer a lawsuit and he didn't have to settle or pay. So yeah, this is big news coming in from Manson, at least at the Manson case, who was just on. It was unable to join this second, but I did want to give you an update that this may be breaking literally in the next coming days. We'll hear more about this, but you're hearing it first here on Popcorn Planet exclusive. Yeah. So apparently, I look. Lisa's been pretty good on this stuff. I don't know why she would break this and put this out there if it was false. She may have gotten different intel. I don't know. But yeah, we are hearing it's now not a settlement. It's dismissed. How does that even happen? How does it dismiss after the settlement? I guess they had 45 days to finalize, and now it's been dismissed before they could even finalize it. I have so many more questions that we will break down in the coming days as we get this more clued in. But there you go. This is big news. So the whole day we were here talking about Marilyn getting deeper and saying something smells fishy. Well, and he just got secured another big win. So stay tuned. We may be able to break that other news sooner than we thought. If this is the case, if this case is now dismissed and over, well, then these files become fair game as far as I know. So make sure if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Like I said, hit the bell for all alerts, smash that like button and leave a comment. What do you think about this breaking news as we were live? Appreciate your insight. And yeah, good for Marilyn Manson. If this is the case, if this is true, that's a huge sign for him. And so there you go. Not a settlement, a dismissal.
Yeah.
So that's big breaking news if that's the case for him. So stay tuned. We'll give you more updates as they come. But there you go. That is the show for today. In fact, I'm wrapping it all around. Make sure you go support our guests here. Look at this amazing crew we have. Lewis, if you want to go live, go start your show. We got Steph the Alter Nerd. She's here. We got Lewis Lekla from Nerd Report will be live next. Love you, Lewis. Go start your show if you can, because I'm going to end it. Or we're just going to take you over there. Kim, it's Kim on YouTube. Go support and subscribe to her as well. Steph the Alter Nerd, Lewis Lekla, Nerd Report. All the links are in my link tree. They're pinned and they're in the description of all my videos. So go show them some support and stay tuned. We'll be back live tomorrow with more updates on this case and so much more. If you want to watch our whole conversation, again, don't forget, hit that join button. You can watch all of the member replays. Become a member by selecting a level. Hit join. You'll be supporting the whole channel, the whole show, and I appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll be back tomorrow, same time. Thank you guys so much for watching. Appreciate you.